Level 1 to 50 with a Blood Necromancer, not using Corpse Explosion at all. Right now I have reached level 60 with this and I'm doing Torment content. In this video we'll break down the skills 1 to 50, where to put every point at any level, the aspects you will be looking to pick up on the way, and what you're looking for 50 plus essentially. Heads up, I pretty much got my first aspect at level 36, so getting 50 with 0 is absolutely possible. Also a look at itemization, what stat you should be 100% looking for, and a sneak peek at the Paragon board. Our main essence skill is going to be Hemorrhage, and that's going to be for the whole game. That might hit you as a surprise, but there's a big aspect trick to it. Also, Hemorrhage makes blood orbs. That's really nice for survivability, and it can hit 2 additional targets and give you bonus essence when you pick up a blood orb and then hit. You can either go for 20% bonus attack speed here or for Fortify. In the beginning, we'll go for the bonus attack speed. As we hit level 50, we'll actually swap over to the Fortify because that will boost our overpower damage tremendously. Next up is Blood Surge, and that's going to be our main staple for damage. The cool thing about Blood Surge is it really sucks life out of everyone in a freaking room, even the ones that are standing 30 meters away from you. That gets followed up by Enhanced Blood Surge, so you actually heal when you're doing it against everyone, so you run into a pack of minion heal. And the most important one of that would be Paranormal Blood Surge, that while you're healthy, that is 80% plus HP, you gain 1 stack of overwhelming blood, and when you have 5 stacks, so 5 times Blood Surge, you will always overpower. And that's pretty insane, as you later have plus 1000 overpower damage, and you're just gonna do 50,000, 100,000, and even more overpower damage. We get 6 points in, and we'll later max out Unliving Energy and Imperfectly Balanced, but in the beginning, and especially as we're missing some key components, it's not worth it. What we will pick up though is Blood Mist. Blood Mist is for sure something you will want to have because Blood Mist is your strongest ability with overpower later on. That gets really good as we get our key passive. Until then, it's just a bonus escapage skill, granting you a little bit heal if needed or if you get immobilized. Now, we could already reduce the cooldown of Blood Mist, but that's not worth it. The next 3 points are going to go into Thorns, because that makes essentially all the tiny trash that's hitting you just completely die away. With the Book of Dead, I sacrificed my Skeletal Warriors straight away for 15% non-physical resistance, but you can no longer raise Skeletal Warriors. As soon as you have level 15, I think you can do that. And for the mages, you go for your overpower damage is increased by 40x. That is a multiplicative value. If it was an additive value, let's say you have already 200% overpower damage, it would just add 40 to that. So from 200 to 240. But this is 40% multiplicative on top, which gets better the more overpower you obviously have. Now we need one more puny point to actually reach it down here. And that one can straight up go into Enhanced Blood Mist. So if you overpower, you reduce the cooldown, you can use it more often. And here comes now one of the main skills you're going to be using together with Blood Surge, Iron Maiden. Curse the target area, and it's afflicted by Iron Maiden take damage each time they deal direct damage to you, which adds perfectly up with the Thorns. But most importantly, Iron Maiden no longer costs essence, instead gain 5 essence for each enemy cursed. Does not work with enemies who are already cursed with Iron Maiden. So you walk into a pack of monsters, you don't have full essence, you cast Iron Maiden, and you get free Blood Surges. Then you kill everyone, walk up to the next pack, Iron Maiden, free Blood Surge. And it goes on and on. You're essentially flying through dungeon because you're making yourself free Blood Surges the whole time to then just bamboozle your opponents. Oh, and if they don't die in one Blood Surge, as soon as they start attacking, they take high amounts of damage. Now you have 2 choices. Either you can make enemies that die from Iron Maiden heal you, or you can have Iron Maiden do even more damage if you hit 3 or more opponents. I found the heal to be quite useless because you're mostly running around with max health anyways. Later Nightmare dungeons, depending on the multiplayer, it can be useful because the bonus damage falls kind of off since you're going to overpower blast people into pieces. I found the bonus damage good in the beginning to essentially have people just kill themselves. Now we need 2 points for the next tier, and this one is actually going into Amplified Damage. You deal 3% more damage, and this is multiplicative again, not additive, to cursed enemies. That's really good. We're going to put 2 points in here right now so we actually reach Corpse Tendrils. Corpse Tendrils is our first corpse skill that does not actually use corpses. That's very important for the rest of the build. Now we could push the last 2 levels to actually have Corpse Tendrils create blood orbs, but I do truly want to start with leveling up this. While below 50% life, you receive 10% more healing from all sources. Super good. Also, while healthy, your blood skills deal 6% multiplied more damage. And your blood skills deal a 5% multiplier again, increased overpower damage. And this is double while you're healthy. All extremely good. And then on top of that, hitting enemies with blood skills has up to 25% chance to fortify you. And the fortify is very important. I've seen a comment on YouTube that didn't understand that. Overpower damage is your base life plus your fortified life, and that then times the overpower multiplier. So the more base life you have and the more fortified life you have, the more insane damage you essentially deal. And that's why you 100% want fortify going on. Now we need 2 more points to reach the lower end here, which is actually completely useless for us in terms of ultimate skills. Yes, we're not going to actually be using ultimate skills. With these 2 points, you're going to go for enhanced corpse tendril, and corpse tendril makes blood orbs. We don't need vulnerable. That sounds a little bit crazy for you, because why would you not want 20% bonus damage? It's simple. You do later on 1000% plus overpower damage. You don't need another 20% vulnerable damage when your attacks are already having 1000 plus damage happening. And if you play in a group, someone will have vulnerable anyways. Reaching down here is the most important part. Keep also in mind, we're using the golem. So as soon as you hit level 25, you'll get your golem. In the beginning, you can only use the bone golem that you can use from more corpses. But as you get to the blood golem, you will use him for, while healthy, your blood golem gains 25% damage reduction and 50% increased damage multiplicative as well. And the blood golem is really good because it absorbs 15% of damage you would take while he heals as he does attacks. So you have a flat damage reduction that's helping you to survive even more. And it doesn't cost you any essence to send your golem in for destruction. Plus there's a unique later that interacts very well with him. Then our next points, we need 10 more to go down here. 1 goes into standalone. That is going to be 4% damage reduction. It could be 6, but you obviously have 1 active minion. And then most importantly, we're jamming up Memento Mori. Sacrifice both Skeletal Warriors and Skeletal Mages increase their sacrifice bonuses by 20%. And this is so important because in total with Memento Mori and also the Mage sacrifice for more overpower damage, here it says only 40% multiplicative, right? Memento Mori together with this has in total higher my overpower damage by 300%. I went from 250 to straight up 570. You can see this very nicely here. There's the overpower damage for 576. And if I now cut out the Memento Mori and the Skeletal Mage sacrifice over to more vulnerable damage, we're suddenly only at 290%. We don't like that. So pop goes the weasel. We're up for 578. And if I put on an item that gives us even more overpower damage, yeah, it only gives us 39%, but you notice 39% plus. Oh yeah, nice. That is working then multiplicative with the Memento Mori even more to boost this more and more. This would be another 11%, but you notice it's more than 11% because it just always goes higher. Now we're still lacking 6 points to truly get the most out of it. So you can go for even more flat damage reduction. And as you notice here, our bar is full. No ultimate skills are needed. Blood Wave is okay, and making double Blood Wave with an aspect is nice, but it's just not good. You don't need Bone Storm with a bonus barrier or damage because you're good off anyways. So you're going to be using rather Corpse Tendrils, and you're going to be using the Golem because they have lower cooldowns anyways to just spam them away. That means 2 more points in standalone for a hefty damage reduction. 4 more points are needed down here. There is 1 more point into curse damage. That is a straight up staple. Then we need 3 more. And these 2 more are definitely going to be going in Tides of Blood to get the most out of our overpower because we're going to have a forced overpower soon. Then we're going to put 1 more in Coalesced Blood for our blood skills to generally do more damage. And down here, that is Rathma's Vigor. And Rathma's Vigor changes everything. Increases your maximum life by 10% multiplicative after being healthy for 15 seconds. Your next blood skill overpowers. And this is very important. So you wait 15 seconds with 80% plus HP, and then your blood skill will overpower. And now you would say we're definitely going to be using Blood Surge to obviously tear someone into pieces. No, we're going to be using Blood Mist, and here's a little video that shows you why we're going to use Blood Mist. And as you can see, the Blood Mist completely obliterates the opponent. This is obviously level 80 plus right now, but that's exactly what the end game will look like when you're absolutely shredding bosses into pieces with the right aspects and also enough HP, which is the most important stat in this build, by the way. Now we get 24 points to spend, and the most important spenders are definitely filling out your blood skills here right now. That would be Quill Assess, Blood Full, then you get for the Fortify, because again, more Fortify, more damage. And you can also increase your overall healing, but it is the least important of them right now. So we can leave this untouched, and we can actually move all the way up here. We have 21 skill points left. We've progressed quite nicely. And this is the last points we will spend. The Unliving Essence and the Imperfectly Balanced. So now you could just jam 5 points into Blood Surge. Technically, that increases the whole Blood Surge damage, which then multiplicative later on works even more with the Overpower. But you also want your standard Blood Surge to do nice damage, so why would you not do more? You can spend another 3 points in Golem Mastery to have your Golem just survive more, and that is more life and damage for your Golem. So that's generally helpful as you want your Golem just to be around and support you as much as possible. Because if you take a little bit of damage, you always want to stay above these 80%, and that's what the Golem helps to mitigate. Then we go the Gruesome Mending up as well, and we have another 12 points left. That's super cool. Those enemies take more damage, and you get less damage dealt to you. So that's really cool. 6% more damage and 9% less damage. And the interesting part is we're also going to go for Death Embrace. You deal 4% increased damage to distance enemies, because with the Surge, you're going to do distant enemy damage and close enemy damage as well at the same time, the way how they're around you. On top of this, we can choose Blood Mist now to also fortify you, because while Blood Mist is fortifying and you're then using Blood Mist to deal damage, you're also going to be getting more damage with the Blood Mist actually fortifying you. Can be very much used, and again, it scales off your base life, so the more life you have, the better the fortifies is, the more overpowered damage you efficiently deal. Now, as we have reached the very end point, we're going to put our last 6 points into Unliving Energy for more Essence, and then also into Imperfectly Balanced. Your 4 skills cost 9 times more Essence, but deal 15 times increased damage. Now, you might have noticed during your playthrough that this will definitely be heavy on your Essence drain, but you're essentially constantly creating Essence with Iron Maiden, and you should never run out. Worst case scenario, use Hemorrhage to actually restore, but we'll come down to that explaining the gameplay loop. Now, the most important part is something that you actually get during the campaign, and that item is called Mother's Embrace. And yes, everyone gets that, so as you beat the campaign with your first character, you hopefully still have this item. It has a very important ability. If core skill hits 5 or more enemies, 40% of the resource cost is refunded. So even if your skill costs 9 times more for 15 times more damage, what does it matter if you get half of the cost back at any time, more or less, apart from against bosses? Plus you get overpower damage, all stats. It's a very good item, and it's a #1 thing for this build. Obviously looking for myself to find a better Mother's Embrace at this point. Now let me give you a quick rundown of the gameplay loop in a Nightmare dungeon. As you can see here, this is Rothamus Vigor. You can actually see that stacking up to 15. Then you know it's time to Blood Mist. If you have Blood Mist off cooldown, otherwise you'll just use your Blood Surge to obviously obliterate your opponents. Step 1, just wait into your opponent's uncaring. Use your ult, use your Blood Surge, kill everyone, because obviously it's overpowered straight away as you have 15 charges. Also, since this is my 5th use right now, it will also overpower straight away. So that is a known. Then I can use now Iron Maiden to restore Essence. Very good. Also, use your Golem to do even more damage. And if anyone is left alive, you also have the Corpse Tendrils as soon as there's a corpse. Last ones get finished off with Hemorrhage. Walk in again. Use Blood Wave. Surge. 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 Restore Essence, and you saw how I just got full Essence with 1 use of Iron Maiden, right? That's the brilliance about this. Let's find an elite pack so we can kind of show you how it works against elites, because they're obviously going to be the last ones standing. Oh, out of my way. yes, it's that good. Let's ignore the Blast Wave Shrine because it could skew you the example of what we're trying to set here. There is an elite. Okay, so Essence full. Then overpower. Overpower. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oops. So, yeah, you mostly don't need Corpse Tendrils and Golem. We're actually very strong, so we can overpower, then use Golem, then use Corpse Tendrils straight away. Overpower. Overpower. Restore Essence. Overpower. As we're out, you can finally use some right-click to restore Essence. And you notice it goes relatively fast, but I'm actually missing my most important aspect of right now to boost the Essence generation to the maximum. Essence is not really a problem as you do something that you're supposed to do. I am level 60 right now. Again, you should do nightmare dungeons that are into 3 to 4 level range of you. So technically doing level 10 nightmare dungeons or level 11 is actually plus 54 monster levels. That would be 65. It's roughly in my level range to actually do. Now, what are the aspects and the stats you're looking for? The most important stat is maximum life. So any item that has maximum life, it's preferred over anything, because the life plus fortify just scales your damage. That gets followed up obviously by overpower damage. So life plus overpower damage are the two main stats you're looking for. No critical strike chance and no critical strike damage. When it comes down to stats, you kind of need all stats or intelligence. Why all stats? Because a lot of the Paragon nodes later on, they do actually require intelligence, but not only that, they also want dexterity. And as you can see, I have quite some dexterity to boast at this point. And willpower, you'll definitely pick out with Paragon nodes, so don't worry all too much about picking up too many willpower items. One thing about aspects is you don't need them to reach level 50. This is more an outlook of where you're going for in the end game. Any aspect you pick up on the way to 50, use it. And if you find some of the good ones, keep using them. For example, this is on the weapon and it should always go on a 200 weapon. Yes, this uses a 200 weapon. Blood Surge's Nova echoes again after a short delay, dealing 31% less damage. So essentially almost the same. And that is the lowest it's possible on your weapon. If you put it anywhere else, it's like 50, 60% less. 31% or 30% is the lowest it can go. Use it here. Then we talked about Mother's Embrace. You obviously want that item. There is no question about it, and you'll get it as you finish the campaign. So if it's your first character, perfect, you'll get this item. Now, the fun part about this build is it actually doesn't need many aspects to work. This and Mother's Embrace is really two of the key parts. This gets followed up by an aspect on the gloves. Each percent of your maximum life you heal beyond 100% grants you plus 0.5% bonus overpower damage on your next overpowering attack, up to 60% bonus. Also, as you're looking at the gloves, you always want to have Blood Surge on them. This glove has plus 3 Blood Surge. I think there's an option to get plus 4 later on, but yes, Blood Surge is what you're looking for on gloves. That's already good, even if there's no other skill on it, but this one also has overpower damage. So Blood Surge and overpower damage, it's perfect. Now for your pants, you always want to have Blood Mist on them. Blood Mist and Max Life are the two things that it should have. When it comes down to the lack aspect, it doesn't really matter because you're looking for a unique item there, which is called Temerity in the long run. But until you have that, I choose the armoring aspect because that makes you more tanky. You gain 0.25% increased armor for 4 seconds when you deal any form of damage, stacking up to 25%, and that can actually go up to 50%. This is the lowest roll possible, but it's going to just keep you alive even more efficient. Now for the ring, I'm currently using basic skill, gain 15% attack speed. That stings. That's not what I actually want to have. What you really want to have is an aspect called Rathma's Chosen. Whenever your blood skill's overpowered, you gain 20 to 50% attack speed for 4 seconds. Now here comes a very interesting interaction with that. So you overpower with your Blood Surge, you're out of essence. That means your Hemorrhage now is supercharged and just spams away, and in 1 to 2 seconds just refills your essence to max. But also, the bonus attack speed counts for your Blood Mist. The Blood Mist takes but if you get your overpower off, then you have Rathma's Vigor tick to 15. You will have the super takes happening and completely obliterate someone with Blood Mist, which is also your highest single target skill in boss fights. And if elites are there without anyone around, that should be going on the ring. On the boots, you have two choices. You can either go for Torture's aspect, that is, enemies afflicted by your Iron Maiden have a chance to be stunned for 1 second when they deal direct damage, or becoming injured while crowd control grants you unstoppable for 4 seconds. This effect has a 40 to 20 second cooldown, and both of these are meant to just enhance your survivability as you just wade through hordes of monsters. For the chest piece, you can choose any defensive aspect you actually want. You can get damaging an elite enemy grants you a barrier, but in the long run, we're going to be playing the Razor Blade. The Razor Blade says gain 10,000 thorns. That's it. Yes, the problem is that one does not have any max life or anything, but it's just such a good item for this whole build. because you're walking just into monsters and they'll just hit you. It's plain beautiful. Same goes here for the helmet. Pick up any defensive aspect that you want at this point, but make sure that you get plus maximum life. You don't really need the aspect on the helmet and the chest to work. The others are just more important for your overall survival and that the build does what it's supposed to do. You remember the attack speed bonus that we talked about? That can go on your amulet until you actually find the Death Speaker's Pendant. That is a unique that gives you blood skill damage, great. Summoning skill damage, okay, that is your golem sucking. Overpower damage in total, and a rank in Coalesced Blood, or 2 ranks. The Coalesced Blood, if you remember, is the one where you get more damage to all blood skills multiplicative, 8% more. And that's insane. But most important, the effect it has, Blood Surge casts a mini nova on your minions, dealing damage. Damage is increased by 10% per target drained by the initial cast up to 50%. Now, I did try this with skeletons. So, you know, half 5 skeletons, half 10 skeletons, and each of them casts a mini nova. Isn't that cool? No, it isn't. It's nice, but your skeletons die fast, and the amount of points you actually have to put into skeletons to make them work, to really get the most out of the Blood Surge mini cast nova, it ain't simply worth it. And that's why we're using the golem, and the golem just does a nice little bonus damage, because yes, your overpower also works on the 646 damage. Right now with my current life total, I do like 15, 20, 30,000. I do like 15 to 20,000 blood surges, while my golem does around 5,000. If I now manage to get my life total up to 5,000 HP or 10,000 HP, that gets bigger, way bigger, because it's 10,000 damage plus 10,000 fortified, so 20,000 in total, times the multiplier of overpower damage you have. And that can be, you know, plus 1,000%. There's going to be so much damage coming out of me and my golem. As you notice, this build doesn't actually need many aspects, and that's truly cool. The main one is really the Blood Surge one and the Mother's Embrace, and you're set to go. The runic gloves are a nice little bonus. As for the ring with the bonus attack speed on overpower, it's just making you more efficient and faster. Now, as a sneak peek on the Paragon board, and that shouldn't really matter for you until you're level 50, I did fill out all my notes here in the beginning for bonus damage, more life, and yes, you do want to have more life because that is essentially your damage. I socketed at first the Gravekeeper rune. I socketed the Gravekeeper glyph. Why? Because you deal 2% increased damage multiplicative up to 12% for every close corpse. And as you might notice, I'm actually not interacting with corpses at all. Therefore, I just get a flat damage increase as soon as I kill anyone, as there's a single corpse around me, 2 corpses, 3 corpses. You don't need any corpse production. Even the bosses spawn corpses just by nature. So you're good off to go to just increase your damage by the people lying around. And again, corpse tendrils don't actually use up corpses. They just come out of corpses. We go for even more damage here and also more intelligence and armor. And yes, that gets increased by the grant 70% bonus to all rare nodes within range. Perfect. And we're going up straight up to the Blood Baguettes board, because blood orbs grant 5% increased damage up to 15%. And as you remember, Corpse Tendril and Hemorrhage are actually making blood orbs, so that's fantastic. And then you also have 60% overpowered, yes, 60% overpowered damage plus another 15%, another 15%, another 15%, plus a total of 5% damage too. Yes. And not only that, there's also 20% damage for 8 seconds after picking up a blood orb. Yes, and plus 12% damage while healthy. So you just get that. Also flat damage increase. Then you can get more potion healing, more maximum life, and that increased again tremendously. And on top, another damage boost as you're picking up blood orbs. You notice this is quite the crazy board. There's even more intelligence in for you and blood orb healing if needed. So you're becoming like this board. You really want to have every single rare node, everything taken in it. This is the best board literally for this build to take every single thing. In the long run, we could think about going into Hulking Monstrosity, because that will make your golem more tanky and will also make your golem deal more damage. That being said, you should probably be looking for a board that allows you to increase your health even more. For example, this is the Scent of Death board that gives you, well, at least 2 corpses nearby, you gain 15% damage reduction. Awesome. And if there's literally no corpse nearby, you get 15% more damage. The only downside of this board is that your max life is bound to shadow resistance. That's a bit weak, but it's again 4% max life able to be gained, while you also get armor and intelligence. So that's quite nice to think about. Again, you're not interacting with corpses much, so you either have permanent damage reduction or more damage in total. As you could think also, just going into the bone graft board, but ignoring everything, and the only thing you're looking for is this node. So we go into this board, just sneak the maximum life and maximum armor node, because that could go up to 8% max life, armor, armor, armor. So you literally just go in here to sneak this one off. Potentially you could go for the glyph, because there is... Potentially you could go for the glyph and then get some resistance to all elements and some more willpower and resistance to all elements. But more or less, you just want to have this life armor node because it's insane. Alternatively, there's the bloodbath node, and that one is also nice. Attacks that are guaranteed to overpower deal 50% multiplied increased overpower damage. And yes, attacks that are guaranteed to overpower, Rathamus Vigor, you know they're going to overpower. And also your Blood Surge, you know that's going to overpower. While you can tack in even more overpower damage. And yes, there's also 4% max life in there, plus 10% damage while fortified. So that might efficiently be your next best board, as you can get damage while healthy and overpower damage in general again from this board. The bonus overpower damage, so you might potentially rotate it so you could actually go for straight up into this. And here's the damage while fortified plus fortified generation, right? And here would be the maximum life and damage while fortified. So you do notice like the Paragon boards for this one, or it's getting rough. Any question left? Drop them in the comments below. If you're looking for a Shadow Necromancer or a Summoner Necromancer, there's 2 links you can check out with 2 more ways to rock the Necromancer. And as a promise, I'm currently working on a Blizzard Super Crowd Control Dead Razor board Mega Necromancer. Stay tuned.